30 is, first of all, not the age of Adele. I'm sure some of you probably thought that. She's 33, but we'll get back to that title a little bit later. Either way, 30 is the new album from Adele. It's been 6 years since her last album, 25, was released in 2015. And apparently she's actually been working on this album going all the way back to 2018, which was the year she turned 30, so that could be one of the reasons why she called it 30. It was also the year that her and her ex-husband got married in 2018. And if you follow Adele's work at all, I'm sure you all know this by now, but if you don't, this album is heavily inspired by their divorce that happened just earlier this year. I believe she even said that in one of her, well, not one of, I think just that one Instagram live that she did recently. Someone asked and she said it was about divorce. It's about divorce.
Divorce, babe, divorce.
A lot of the songs on this album do take on the themes and the effects that come with divorce, how it affected her, and also her son as well. The album is very introspective, as it is very much a self-reflection on her situation and what she's gone through as a result of this divorce. And the music that follows this in the album is, for the most part, very soft, very chill sounding. The production really does put a lot of focus and emphasis on Adele's vocals and less on the instruments. There's definitely a lot more compression put on that side of a lot of the tracks. We kick things off with Strangers by Nature, which I think is a decent opener. I do like the sort of old-timey melody that Adele is utilizing here. Kind of reminds me of Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish. It sounds very classic, very much sort of 1950s with how slow she is singing. Yeah, the song is just okay to me. I do think the chorus is a little bit weird though. It, to my knowledge, is only sung once, and it feels kind of out of place, almost a little bit discomforting with the tone that it's sung at. That might have been intentional, but it did, for that reason, feel a little bit out of place to me. But overall, just a decent, fine intro. We then get to the lead single for this album, Easy On Me, which by now I've probably heard like 20 times on the radio. I mean, every time I get in my car and I turn on the radio, I know it's going to be on one of those stations. It's just a guarantee at this point. But as of now, I am not tired of it yet. I do still really like this song. Adele's vocals especially, I think, are a big standout from it. The accompanying piano played by Greg Kurstin, who also produced the track, I think is nice. On the whole, you probably could make a good argument that this is just kind of another sad piano Adele song. But I think with the context of the inspirations for this album and what influenced her in a lot of her writing, I do think that makes it better. And it certainly gives it a lot more weight than it would have had if the context of it was unknown. My Little Love is a very touching and very heartwarming song where in between verses, at least for the first half, we hear Adele with her son Angelo. They're having these recorded conversations. She's essentially just telling him how much he means to her and sort of what's going on with her and his dad. It's very sweet and, like I said, very touching to hear the banter between her and her child. The second half of the song, though, really takes a turn where we still hear these recorded conversations, but instead it's just Adele herself talking as if it's this type of journal entry or like it's some sort of diary recording. And while I do think that this section is still effective and definitely powerful, especially at certain moments you hear her starting to tear up a little bit, I don't think it really fits with the first half of the song, and I think the song would have benefited if it was either cut into two different parts or maybe had like that slash, you know, it could be like My Little Love slash myself, or, you know, just something about herself. As a whole, though, I do still think that it is a good track, and it does carry on with those themes of her trying to cope with the situation that she's in and trying to learn more from it. Cry Your Heart Out is, on the surface, a very upbeat sounding track. It has influences from Motown and the instrumental, but when you look into the lyrics, it's pretty sad and depressing, as Adele seems to have sort of lost some hope in this one, lost some inspiration to keep going with life, and she feels like she just isn't as valued as she used to be. In the chorus, she says, "Cry your heart out, it'll clean your face," which I think is her way of saying that it is important to cry and to be able to express these emotions, and that it's healthy for you to progress in life. But then I think something happened in this album where the producers, one of the producers, a lot of people produced this album, said like, yeah, these songs are good so far. They're raw and they're honest, but we need something that's gonna get some radio play, something a little bit more poppy and digestible. And that came in the form of the next track, Oh My God. A fitting title, I must say. It doesn't surprise me that this was the next single for the album, released just after the album came out, as musically it is so generic sounding. It sounds like Imagine Dragons and Ed Sheeran had a baby. I mean, Adele's vocals are good. That's pretty much a given with any of her tracks. I guess lyrically it does continue those same themes. But the tune itself was just so obnoxious to me, so annoying, so overblown. I really just don't think that Adele is fit to do these kinds of tracks. It kind of reminded me of one of the singles from her last album called Send My Love. Yeah, it's easily one of the weakest and one of the most generic sounding tracks on this whole album. And it's followed by one that isn't as bad as this one, but is still pretty weak in my opinion. That's Can I Get It? Musically speaking, it is definitely a little bit better. I do like the guitar that accompanies this track, although as a whole, it kind of just sounds like Adele sort of redoing one of her older singles, maybe Rolling in the Deep, kind of like what Taylor's been doing with some of her albums. She's been like re-recording them. Yeah, I didn't care for this one. The whistling I found to be very annoying. Just on the whole, another pretty bland track. Things do pick up with the following I Drink Wine, one of the more soulful cuts on the album. The outro to this one sees a spoken word of Adele talking about how she wishes she could have embraced more individual moments and individual memories that she had during her time of marriage. I think that's what she's trying to say. All Night Parking is just okay to me. It samples a couple of songs, one by Errol Garner and one by Joey Pecoraro. It's the shortest song on the album. It's the only one under 3 minutes long. I do find the topic of this one to be very interesting, as Adele is talking about a love that she actually found after her divorce, but it didn't work out because it was long distance. Woman Like Me is a strong cut from this record, and one that sees Adele expressing some more negative emotions towards her ex and for her situation. We come from the same place, but you will never give it up. It's where they make you feel powerful. That's why you think make you feel small, but that's your projection. It's not my rejection. She definitely doesn't hold back on this one. It's probably the closest we get to a diss track on this whole album. I do also really like the Latin-influenced instrumental that accompanies these lyrics, particularly the drums. Hold On is a gospel-tinged anthem that really picks up in the second half. I think for some listeners, you might have to be a little bit patient early on as it starts out pretty slow. But once those drums kick in, it really does start to feel like this big, powerful anthem. Like, yes, hold on. Then we have To Be Loved. Probably the saddest song on this entire album. Even without reading through the lyrics, just Adele's vocals. Musically, this one is extremely simple. It just has a piano being played, and it really does put a lot more emphasis on her singing and her lyrics. Every time she comes back to this chorus, when she says to be loved, oh, it hits hard. Yeah, I think easily one of the most saddest sounding songs on this album, and I think it's one that will stop a lot of people in their tracks. If they're doing anything, they'll just stop what they're doing and just sort of sit there and kind of ponder their life. Love Is a Game brings the album to a triumphant finish. I read that apparently Adele was watching Breakfast at Tiffany's when she was recording this, which for me at least is very ironic because I just the other day rewatched that movie. Great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. Maybe I'll review it someday. But I just kind of found that funny. It brings things to a close, I think, in a very fitting way. Although, personally, I would prefer To Be Loved to be the last song. I can see why they put this one. As aesthetically, it does just fit that format of a conclusion more than To Be Loved does. With 30, I think Adele was able to very effectively express all of her emotions, her thoughts, her feelings on these sort of hard times that she's going through. Even with those two shitty tracks, I still found a lot to enjoy with this album, and I'm gonna go ahead and give 30 a B+. Here's a breakdown of my rating system if you're curious. Do you guys have any favorite tracks from this album? I think if I had to pick a top 3, I would go My Little Love, Woman Like Me, and To Be Loved. If it's not My Little Love, I'd probably replace it with Easy on Me. Let me know your thoughts on this album in the comments. My camera's about to die, so I've got to kind of wrap this up here. Thank you all for watching if you got to this point in the video, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.